The deep sea is vast, dark, and nearly freezing cold. And it is also full of giants. As we begin to descend the ocean depths, we first pass through the epipelagic zone. Here is where almost all ocean life exists, thanks to the sun's penetrating energy. Here, animals are colorful and abundant. Next, we reach the
Did we watch this? I think we
zone,
watched something similar
also
to
known
that.
as the ocean twilight zone. Here, light becomes very dim, and photosynthesis becomes impossible. Below 1,000 meters, all sunlight disappears, and we enter into the midnight zone, or the bathypelagic zone. The only light that can be seen down here is the glowing bioluminescence from the skin of squids or the lures of anglerfish. The pressure here is immense, the temperatures shockingly low, but the ocean goes deeper still. The abyssopelagic zone reaches depths of up to 6,000 meters, with pressure 600 times that of our terrestrial world. The abyssal realm is considered the single largest ecosystem for life on Earth, covering 300 million square kilometers,
yeah, the backgrounds
about
is
60% of the surface of the globe. But the deepness of the ocean doesn't stop there. The hadopelagic zone is the deepest ocean region.
Is that in the Mariana Trench?
Of about 6,000 to 11,000 meters and exists in long, narrow, topographic V-shaped trenches. The deepest of these ever discovered is the Mariana Trench. And despite all logic, life survives in these darkest depths. And the creatures here have evolved to be exceedingly freaky. From the ghostly to the terrifying to the absolutely gigantic. The giant Japanese spider crab, the big red jellyfish, the king of herrings oarfish,
what? There's no way that's real.
The Greenland shark, and the giant isopods. These animals are all examples of deep-sea gigantism, the tendency that deep-sea animals have to be substantially larger than their shallow water counterparts. In waters intensely cold and dark, why do these leviathans emerge? Is it an eerie coincidence of the deep dark sea, or a feature of life in this inhospitable landscape? Below 400
I don't think they're gonna lock
food
maps,
becomes quite scarce in the ocean.
We don't know. I think they're gonna give us more info soon.
Algae
Hopefully.
and plankton disappear too. And without this crucial part of the food chain, life gets markedly harder for deep-sea animals. Instead, most of them have to rely on detritus that rains down from shallower waters, a phenomenon called marine snow.
Chad, has anyone here ever been snorkeling or like been in a submarine?
Fecal pellets and bits of rotting corpses that fall to the sea floor as fine particles. Some animals rely directly and completely on marine snow. The vampire
I haven't
squid,
done it because,
for
like, I don't know, I'm
example,
too scared.
has special adaptations to help them better catch and eat the falling particles. Two long filaments extend from their bodies to capture any that drifts past them in their habitat 900 meters deep. Marine snow is the backbone for all life in the deep, but it can't support a great deal of biomass.
Can't swim?
The number of creatures in the deep is
Have you thought about learning?
And the food web is
I feel like it's pretty important to know how to
Many
swim.
animals don't eat marine
Just in case,
snow directly, but rely on eating those that do, and thus the pressure of predation is extremely high. Any small fish, crustacean, or cephalopod has a big target on its back from any larger predator. And for this reason, it became evolutionarily advantageous for animals to get rid of this target on their back, to transition from being a prey animal into a
terrified
top
of deep water,
predator.
me too.
Enter
Hello Tia,
the
how are
giant
you?
squid, both an
I went
icon
snorkeling
and an
in
enigma of the
Cancun
deep.
and I saw
By
a lot
the
of
turn
fishes
of the
and a huge
21st
starfish.
century, the giant
Starfish are
squid
cool.
remained one of the few extant megafauna to have never been photographed alive. What we know about the giant squid largely comes from specimens that have washed ashore. It wasn't until 2004 that the first photographs of a live giant squid in its natural habitat were taken in the twilight zone, at a depth of about 1,000 meters. And while we may not know much about these mysterious creatures, we do know that they are huge. The largest individual ever found was 13 meters long, as long as a school bus,
13
and weighing
meters.
275 kilograms, compared to the majority of squid, which are no more than 67.
Chat, Bingo says, did you know sharks are older than the rings of Saturn? Do you mean like as a species they're older than the rings? I don't even know how old
these giants are truly exceptional. Scientists believe that by having such a
well, did you know I'm
size,
older
they're
than the
left
rings
with
of Saturn
few
as well?
predators, and allows them to comfortably prey on deep-sea fish and other squid species, which they grab with their 2 extremely long tentacles. But as impressive as the giant squid is, it is not the largest
have
of the
peepees?
deep-sea squids. The colossal squid, sometimes called the Antarctic squid, is the largest invertebrate in the world. They're shorter in length than the giant squid at only 10 meters, but can weigh between 500 and 700 kilograms, lurking in depths over 2,000 meters. It's easy to imagine such a massive creature as an aggressive top predator, darting through the water, snatching prey and dominating its adversaries, ripping sailboats apart, etc. But this squid teaches us something else
Is that
about
its booty
deep-sea
hole?
giants. They aren't necessarily the dominating predatory force we imagine, because with their large size comes something else, an extremely slow
Hi
metabolism.
Twinkie, thanks for the resub.
The colossal squid takes something called Kleber's Law to the next level. Kleber's Law states that metabolism doesn't scale linearly with body size, as you might predict. A horse that weighs 1,000 times more than a mouse doesn't require 1,000 times more energy. Instead of metabolism scaling linearly with body size, it scales with an animal's mass to the 3/4 power.
What?
This applies to all life on Earth.
The math ain't
from
mathin'
blue whales
for me.
right down to individual cells. It's largely a consequence of the physics and geometry of animal circulatory systems, an animal's surface area to volume ratio, and the fractal nature of blood vessels. And all this means that the larger an animal is, the more efficient it is. And the colossal squid seems to be exceedingly efficient. One study estimated the metabolic rate
Why
of
didn't
the
they
colossal
just swim
squid
upward?
to be so low that they only
That's a
burn
good question, Puke. I
45
don't know.
calories per day and only require 0.03 kilograms of
Oh,
food per
interesting.
day.
Well, thank you for
single
telling us,
adult
Bingo. I didn't know
toothfish
that.
would be enough food for a 500 kilogram colossal squid for approximately 200 days. Their energy requirements are 300-fold to 600-fold lower than other similarly sized top predators of the Southern Ocean. This indicates that the colossal squid has a particularly slow pace of life. It doesn't chase down its prey in epic battles like we might imagine. Instead, it sits and waits for prey to unwittingly approach, then uses the. And this extremely cold environment has caused the shark to not just be huge, but ancient. Greenland sharks are the longest living vertebrates in the world, so old that there are likely individuals swimming in the sea that were alive before Christopher Columbus voyaged to the Americas, before Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel, while the Aztec and Incan empires were still thriving. Scientists estimate their average lifespan to be at least 272 years.
Aren't sharks the only thing you
with some
can't eat?
individuals living perhaps.
Wait, what do you mean you can't eat sharks? I know that you're not allowed to. I think you're banned from using their fins because a lot of weren't like some people like cutting off their fins and leaving them to sink to the bottom of the ocean, which is like really cruel.
Well over 500 years. Inside the shark's eyes, there are proteins that form before birth that are then covered by many layers of the lens of the eye.
Shark fin
These
soup.
proteins do not degrade with age, so by carbon dating them, scientists can roughly determine
That's
the
crazy.
age of the shark.
It is. It's very cruel.
One 5-meter female was assessed to be between 272
Yeah, it's a very popular
and
dish in
512
Chinese
years
cuisine.
old. These sharks don't even reach reproductive
very, like,
age until around 150
immoral
years old.
though.
Their
the way that
astoundingly
they
long life can be attributed to their exceedingly low
shark fin.
metabolism, much like the colossal squid. And just like the colossal squid, they are extremely slow and opportunistic feeders. They eat some fish and squid and scavenge any carcass they can find. Their stomach contents have even included polar bears, horses, and reindeer.
Oh my god.
Just like the giant squids, they too would struggle
Yeah,
to spot
some
and
sharks
chase
live up
prey
to
in the
500 years
pitch-black
old,
waters.
chat.
But
almost
even if
as
the water
old as
wasn't
me.
so dark, the sharks still couldn't see, because a particular crustacean constantly latches onto their eyeballs, damaging them to the point of total blindness.
What the?
The thought of drifting along in -2-degree pitch-black water for 500
I thought that was
years
CGI.
with
Is
crustaceans
this
attached
real?
to your eyeballs gives me heebie-jeebies of the highest order. The animals we've discussed so far are certainly strange, incredible, and even creepy.
Hello,
But we've only
Mikey.
gone
What's
as
up?
deep
How you
as the
doing?
meso and bathypelagic zones, 200 to 4,000 meters down. The ocean goes deeper still, and reveals one of the most extreme cases of deep-sea gigantism ever discovered. In the Hadal Trenches, 6,000 to 11,000
My
meters
games are actually
deep,
okay
the temperature varies
today.
between
I
1
think
and 4 degrees
I'm
Celsius.
up 1 or something.
There is no light, and the pressure can reach levels 1,100 times that of the surface.
I don't know, Benny.
Here,
It's
the
been a
marine
while.
snow that gives life to most of the deep barely trickles down. 90% of it never reaches past the twilight zone. At these depths, it seems like life should be impossible, but instead, the deeper you go, the more you'll find colossal amphipods crawling along the bottom.
What's an amphipod?
Shallow water amphipods are usually around 5 millimeters
You're a fake
to
fan,
20
Benny.
millimeters
I'm
in
gonna
length,
expose you.
But these deep water
Mikey, we're just
behemoths
watching
can
like
grow up to
animal
34
videos while we're
centimeters
queuing.
long. Something that's often the size of a gnat at
How have
these
your games
depths
been?
is the size of a guinea pig. Alicella gigantea is known as the supergiant amphipod and is the largest amphipod ever discovered.
Is that like
Their
a shrimp?
gigantism is similar to that of the giant isopods that can measure up to 50 centimeters long. Their roly-poly cousins you might find in your garden are a mere 6 millimeters long.
Oh. What?
These amphipods and isopods are scavengers and detrivores, eating any decomposing material they
We
can
are gonna
find.
get swallowed by the ocean.
And their large body size may help them store as much food and energy as possible when they can find it. Relatably, when giant isopods find a significant food source, they gorge themselves to the point
Are they
of
considered
compromising
bugs?
their locomotive ability. By doing this, they can survive long periods of famine. Giant isopods have been known to survive over 5 years without food in captivity.
What?
Their
5
large
years
body
without
size
food?
also allows them to travel greater distances in search of their next meal. Another reason for their huge body size might have to do with the viscosity of the water at such depths and cold temperatures.
Yeah, don't
Down
Dara
there,
doesn't
water
like
would
it.
feel
Respect
thicker
her boundaries,
than water at the
Benny.
surface. Larger body size may give these
Sea
deep-sea
bugs.
invertebrates a respiratory advantage that
Lobsters
helps
and
them
shrimp, I
overcome
think, are
the
related to
larger viscous
cockroaches? Wait,
forces in
really?
the water. But even
'Cause
with
I
all
love
these
eating
factors,
lobster.
it's still hard to comprehend how there could be enough food at these depths to support these giants. But recently, researchers discovered that some of these creatures might be feeding on an entirely unexpected food source. One hadal amphipod, Hierondelia gigas, was found to have a unique cellulase enzyme.
I'm sorry, none of that sentence just then made sense. One hadal amphipod, Hierondelia gigas, was found to have a unique cellulase enzyme. What? Any science majors in the chat want to explain what that means? I don't know. That was a tongue twister. Bronze
One that
life.
seemed like its purpose was to break down plant matter.
I really want to
This
play in
was
bronze one
surprising
day.
Because
I feel like it'd be really
absolutely
fun.
zero plant life can live in the hadal depths, and the amphipods wouldn't need this enzyme to digest bits of algae in the form of marine snow. Yet, when scientists tested the enzyme, it converted sawdust and wood pulp directly into glucose. And on top of this, its enzymatic activity increased under high hydrostatic pressure. The higher the pressure, the faster and more efficiently
It's
the
mostly
enzyme
kids.
could digest cellulose.
Sam and
There
Austin
may
have
be
been
no
bullying
plants living in
bronze
the hadal
kiddos.
zone, but on occasion, large pieces of driftwood will sink all the way to the bottom of the deepest parts of the sea. And being able to convert this wood directly into energy is of high survival value for an animal that doesn't have many options. While we don't know much about the deep sea, we do know that
Chat,
it's a
imagine if
very
you get
delicate
reincarnated as
ecosystem.
like
Many of these
one of these
animals
creatures.
already live on a knife edge of survival, and any change to their environment could mean the end for these giants.
Nikki,
Overfishing, plastic pollution,
should I ban you?
changes in ocean chemistry due to
You wanna
climate
get banned?
change, and deep-sea mining are all threats to this incredible ecosystem. These creatures may seem like they live in a far-off alien planet, but it's still very much connected to and dependent on ours. And scientists now believe we very well may be dependent on their world too. We are only beginning to understand the intrinsic connection between ocean
intrinsic.
ecosystems
I used to use that word a
and
lot
the
in my
links
English
between them
essays.
and the terrestrial environments in which we live. And most importantly, who wants to live in a world that's been stripped of its wonder, of its dazzling, mesmerizing, and baffling deep-sea creatures? We as a species are so focused on trying to find alien life on other planets that we often forget about the unthinkable creatures that are living right under our noses, or rather, under many miles of ocean. If you're like me, the news in the world lately makes you desperately wish you too lived at the bottom of the ocean. Maybe the Greenland shark, floating
Mick.
alone in the
How are you?
darkness with parasites on its eyeballs, is actually
I think it'd be
something.
pretty cool to be
I
a marine
bet the Greenland
biologist.
shark doesn't doom scroll itself into insomnia every night, or begin the day with a cup of anxiety reading the front page of Reddit and all its associated threads of arguing and stupidity. But since I
Imagine
am
using Reddit.
unfortunately a human, I often do exactly these things. I want to
Yeah,
stay
good, that's good.
informed, but then find myself getting sucked into the news and social media, working myself up, trashing my mental health, and honestly wasting a lot of time.
Sounds like me playing
So
Overwatch.
this is why I've switched my morning news routine
Oh, is this
to
an ad?
Morning Brew. Morning Brew can't make the news better, but it can make it understandable and digestible. Morning Brew gets you up to speed on business, finance, and tech in just 5 minutes, and their recaps are refreshingly witty. There's no comment section to accidentally fall into, so you can read about Elon Musk and Twitter's feud